Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our second presentation of the day in CRESTCon Asia. And I just want to say a really big thank you for joining us. It's been a tough couple of years, and it's great to see some great presentations coming through today for you to enjoy. So I will be handing over to Lawrence very shortly, who will be talking about bypass the detection and prevention obstacle, red teaming technique. But just before I do, you have got an opportunity at the end of this presentation to ask Lawrence any questions that you may have. So please feel free to do that. You can type them into the question pane throughout the presentation so you don't forget, or you can type them at the end. So remember, you've got Lawrence here today. If you have any questions that you would like to ask him, please make sure you do. So I will stop talking now and I will hand over to Lawrence, who you've come here to see today. So thank you very much, and over to you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Debbie, and thanks everyone for joining this session. Today, as Debbie mentioned, we're talking about bypass the detection and prevention obstacle, and it's under the category which is red teaming technique. So before we start, let's introduce myself and little briefing. My name is Lawrence. I'm cybersecurity manager at PwC DarkLab, Hong Kong. I'm also security researcher, where you can just follow me on the following IP on Twitter. I have participated in published a lot of research and a lot of vulnerabilities, and participated in many programs. Also, I create OffSec and red teaming tools, and it's all published under the Zero XSP lab, which is I created in a couple of years ago. So this is a little briefing about who I am. So for presentation briefing, like for today, I'm gonna to introduce something or uncover technique for process hollowing. And through this is kind of technique, I was able to bypass and divert detection and preventions technologies. So you as audience, you will expect to see full detailed paper presentation and information, and it's well followed with the demos showing exact bypass for basic AV and advanced XDR solutions. And of course, on the other hand, they will try to demonstrate a simple weaponization for the tool, and how you can use that through or inside a very fully secured environment that any red teamer could face in any red teaming operation. So our outline is just very straightforward points. The first is introduction, and the second one is technical observation, including my observation during the engagements that I was handling before. And from that experience, I have built what it is right now. And the third point, which is bypass antiviruses. And here I'm talking like any antivirus that you may face in any workstation or personal laptop or whatever. And the advanced XDR solutions, as here I'm talking about enterprise, and that's what you may be facing during real red teaming engagements. The final point, which is weaponization, the attack. Here I'm trying to give you very simple weaponization. I'm not going to make it very advanced, just to make sure that everything's in one place. And that's it. This is our presentation overview, and I hope you'll like it. Okay. So as introduction, like right now, in any red teaming operation that we may face, it becomes really challenging to defeat the security defenses and prevention products. That's including my experience, like sometimes including like the development of Windows Defender or Kaspersky or any other security products. They are really putting technologies that prevents you from loading your malicious tools. Like, for example, loading your Mimikatz, which is you will need it for any like engagement to get the LSA secrets or to the pass the hash or any other things. So it's really challenging to do obfuscation to defeat it. So in that case, as red teaming engagement, it's required for you to deploy your own technique. You have to achieve the bypass. If you're not able to achieve this kind of obstacle, it becomes very like you cannot achieve the old red teaming, because in any red teaming, you start from initial access and incidental like persistent and exfiltration. And if you're not able to get the first stage, your all red teaming, let's say, operation has been failed. So it's really very major to bypass. So yes, and again, it's really you have to equip yourself with the newer techniques. Right now, the community for cybersecurity, especially open source, is rich, and there are so many great people are participating and publishing tools. And so you have to be updated and do not be outdated. And there is one of the like very old, let's say, motto, which is like, or could like have been shared, like you have better to have your own way if you want to take the compromise. So again, that's the second part we will talk is the technical observation. And this is including my points during my engagements. Like when you are going to do obfuscation for your script, let's for example, trying to load your, there is a binary that you want to maybe call strike or whatever, and you want to deploy it in a very secure environment to get the callback. Or you have to do that through like phishing engagement or whatever. 90% of the newer antiviruses will detect it, and will prevent it like in less than a couple of seconds. Even if you try to obfuscate, you have to try some techniques, they're still able to do that. So in this case, you have to think like, what should I do in this case? Like if the obfuscation is really not working, the encryption is not working in a way that the normal techniques that we know, and the antivirus is able to do that. Even that, right now, majority of the antiviruses and XDR are able to detect the memory execution. Like I remember like a couple of years ago, I was facing one of the security products without touching the name, and they were having a kind of version that doesn't support detection for example, MSI scripts or something like that. Whatever you try to execute something in the memory, sorry, it cannot be detected. For me, like memory execution is very major right now to be detected. If you fail, you cannot. Sorry. So, as I said, the second point is the memory execution. That right now, majority of security products start to detect that. The third point, which is tampering and behavioral analysis. And right now, sometimes you may have a very, very clean binary, let's say, that you coded by yourself, and you put it in that secure environment. And then it has been detected, even that it's still new. That's why, because the behavioral is being done. Like if you are going to create a process and then use that process to do something, so then the antiviruses will flag it. So your action has been stopped. The last one, which is indicator of compromise. Right now, like especially on Twitter or GitHub or whatever, you can see a battle has been done between the blue team and the red team, not just like on the engagement. On red team engagement, this kind of battle is happening, but it's also, on the other hand, on the open source community, there is an actual battle between the two teams, which is make it challenging, and it makes me put a challenge for self, because I know after releasing the tools, the team will try to build the defense. They will start to build the indicators of compromise. So the last point is the indicator of compromise, which is sometimes that you don't know that someone has built some YARA rules or has built some detections rules that will stop your attack and allow the blue team to prevent your compromise. So let's begin step by step. I know that this talk is purely technical, so I will try as much as I can to simplify it. So dynamic forking, or what I say like as process following technique, is well known, and like dozens of papers has been released about that. A lot of talks in DEF CON or Black Hat has been covered this kind of research. But let me try to give you a very basic explanation of it. Like in general, it's about creating a process and suspending state, and then unmap the original executable image, followed with the memory allocation. So it means in basic, you take any executable you want, CMD or whatever, and you do the replacement of the image with a specific memory allocation, and then you will able to run that malicious image. So after you do that, it's possible to write the replacement executable into allocated memory space and setting the EX, RAX, which is registers assemblies values, of the primary thread to the entry point of replacement executable. This is the technical part of it. So my technique, I have labeled him as a MORTAR, which is something, can you remember? So although that the process following is like effective and it's really like from my side, it's very good technique, but it's easy to detect and it's easy to prevent, because you are trying to replace the image of an executable. And that image is purely evil, for example, purely malicious. So the antivirus will get the replacement image before you're doing the operation. So if you are trying to load something, that something is already known as a malicious, the antivirus will interrupt. The antivirus will prevent before you're doing the process. So it's effective, but in the other way, it's easy to detect, it's easy to prevent. So what I have done in this technique is to encrypt and the binary. I'm talking about binaries. It's about encrypt binaries and decrypt the executable image inside a memory stream. And after that, the decryption has been done in place, then it will run. So the process of running for encryption, for decryption in a memory, and putting that in a specific memory stream, and then run it inside the memory stream, this will become harder for the security products to look into the encrypted, let's say, buffer and try to see this is malicious or not, and what is exactly happening here. And you may ask yourself, like maybe, but the AV will try to detect because you are doing malicious behavior. Yes, exactly, it will do that, but not all of them. That's I'm trying to cover on this talk. For the encryption and the decryption, the tool will use a kind of a blowfish on-fly Blowfish encryption and decryption. And the tool in general is just like it's written in Pascal, and this will be released on my GitHub, but it's still not released right now because I don't want to release something and then use it in a bad way. I want to make a research and then introduce and then allow the others to respond effectively. So if you're interested to get a copy when it's released, you can navigate to the following GitHub address and make sure to watch the changes. There is a kind of icon for like watch, and then press watch, and then whatever I something here, you will get informed. So technically, let's go inside deeper about the technique, what's happening, starting from the encryption until starting the dynamic forking process. So as I said, in the tool, I have done two bars, the encryptor and the decryptor. So the encryptor, it's also customized in any language. You can even put it in a web service and do your encryption. It becomes very easy to use. So the process after encrypting the executable using the MORTAR encryptor, the encrypted process will go to the loader. So the loader, there is two versions of the loader, one which is EXE and the other one which is DLL. EXE is also able to bypass, and DLL is also able to bypass another thing, which is I'm going to also to cover it. So the first thing, the loader will decrypt the content inside the memory using the same key that use it for the encryption. After the decrypting has been in place, the output is also base60 format. That's in purpose. I did that because after a lot of like trying attempt, the purpose is to jangle the AV inside the memory. Imagine that you are doing this process inside the memory, and then you also the output is base64. The AV cannot understand what is happening here. And then after that, the technique starts here, that you are copying the content into different memory streams. In Pascal, since it's object-oriented, not as C or whatever, there's a kind of components that you can add into the procedure. You can copy the buffer, you can copy the content from memory stream to another memory stream. And then you can do that in one procedure. Not just like C, which is a struct language. And the process is like maybe straightforward. I don't have very experience in C, but in Pascal, it's really effective in that way. That's why most of the viruses that we come before and now, it's more written in Delphi, which is based on Pascal. It's the favorite language for hackers, especially for the Russian hackers in general. And then after that, decode the final inside the memory. I'm not writing anything to the disk. So it's all inside the memory. That's what makes it so good. I'm not touching the disk at all. So decoding the final inside the memory stream, and then from there, you can start the dynamic forking. So in MORTAR technique, I'm loading the replacement evil image into the memory as encrypted and do the process of decryption inside the memory and running inside the memory without touching the disk. So the AV cannot really know what is happening because nothing, the operation is all inside the memory. He cannot do that. For the test cases, I have done so many test cases, but I just label punch of the products that I can with some of the attacks. Starting with ESET. ESET is good, but he's failed to detect any kind of execution inside the memory. The attack that I have done, Cobalt, Meterbeta, and some of Mimikat's operations, and the result, unfortunately, isn't be detected. The second one, which is Windows Defender, which is shipped with any Windows operation system, cannot detect Cobalt, Meterbeta, Mimikatz. The third one, which is Kaspersky. Kaspersky is able to detect Meterbeta, is also able to detect some operation of Mimikatz like LS8 humping, because he's monitoring the hook, as I know, according to my experience. But he's failed to detect the image itself as it's evil. And Cobalt, with a sum of modifications, he was not able to detect it. But in default, he was able to, like, you run it, but then it has been terminated. The third one, which is Cortex. Cortex is one of the things that makes me feel pain in any routine operation, because it's really, right now, challenging to bypass. So he was able to detect like Cobalt and Meterbeta. Mimikatz also able to detect it. I wasn't able to run Mimikatz at all, even with the bypass. So Cortex is good. So starting from there, we can have a little bit look to some of the screenshots that I have shared. As you can see, I'm running the ESET Internet Security. And below, you can see there is on parallel the Windows Defender. And here, I'm using the loader, which is the executable, and I was able to run the SAMDump. And as you can see here, the file encrypt is the binary, it's actually the Mimikatz, but it has been encrypted with the encryptor. And after that, the loader will run, and as you can see, the result here, and ESET failed to detect it. The second one is Kaspersky. As you can see, it's able to detect. It's not able to detect. It's able to run Mimikatz. But as I said before, some of the operations, which is hooking the API, was able to prevent. Now the challenging comes in. So Cortex were able to detect that until behavioral. And there is a kind of tampering rules has been enforced. So our case right now, that Cortex blocked the technique. It's actually blocked any kind of process following attempt you can do. That's pretty good. I like it. But that's just fine for me. Cortex has two modules, which is notify and terminate. Notify as EDR, he will say that, hey, there is unexpected behavior. And terminate, he will take action and block. So I believe that MORTAR, because it will be open source and you can do whatever you want in it, is very able to bypass whatever antivirus, very simple change you will do, and you will be able to bypass. You have only to understand how this kind of security product is working, how he's functioning, and what's kind of things that he will not be able to detect, what the things he's able to detect. So it's all done by experience, by real engagement, not just like by installing them in your own PC. So what I have done with Cortex, the first thing, exe loader is a bad idea. Whatever I try to recompile, modify, and run has been blocked in any kind of attempt. So the other thing that we have to do is, since I am the code, I can do whatever I want. That's what I say, it's open source. So I just convert to another loader, which is through DLL, dynamic link library. So from there, I have to write the own code again and then do recompiling. So after I did that, and unfortunately run it, Cortex was able to detect. So what I'm trying to do here, that my technique is able to detect, what should I do? And then the idea comes in, like process hollowing can be done to any process. So what if instead of running the CMD, let's run the main Cortex process? That's fun. So let's see if I can do the process hollowing for their own main process. Instead of going to do the dynamic forking for the CMD, I will choose one of the processes of the Cortex and do the process hollowing. So Cortex in this way, he will not detect himself because he's already signed and trusted, right? He will say, let's ignore this kind of thing for scanning this kind of process. Maybe, let's see. I tried to do that. Bunch of attacks has been bypassed, but I'm talking about the full compromise for Cobalt or Metabeta. He's still able to terminate it, run it for a little bit and then terminate it. So like, for example, getting the Metabeta session, died. And then after that, run it again, died. So there is something that's stopping it. He will able to got it. So what I did, I'm trying to look for the technique like, okay, I'm going to strip bat file, which will launch the attack in one click. And then you are doing a kind of a process spoofing. Instead of running directly this process, let's do some spoofing like launch CMD /C and then load run DLL. And then let's see if he's able to detect it or not. Following with a little bit modification into the code, especially for the thread context LP address. Here, the LP address is, you can find that in SDN API structure to read more about it. So what I have done, I have extended the value of LP paste address from RDX for 64-bit 10 until RTX 100, and then decrease the number of bytes to be read from 8 bytes into 2 bytes. That's the process of decrypting and putting the binary in place, the final image to execute. So I know that most technically it's very detailed. So I have prepared a bunch of demos, starting with the Metabeta and then starting with Cobalt. So here we go. The first one is Metabeta session. As you can see, Cortex blocked. That's good. But you are able to get the Metabeta session. Nothing stopped you. Great. It's really working. So Cortex here, he was able to notify the first module, but he was failed to terminate. He couldn't terminate that. He couldn't stop that from the memory. At the end, it has been executed. The second one, which is the lovely Cobalt strike, which is, I use it for an team engagement. So here, let's go ahead. Again, it has been plugged, and then we cut the beacon. As you can see, the process, I'm using the process of Cortex. That's the bypass. This is the research. You are using that, the process, and he was not able to do that. And of course, like while running Cobalt Strike, make sure that the time is not really like the time sleep, just 60 seconds. Do not make it 1 second or something. It will be detected. So here I'm showing you the events, the scan. He will not be able to do anything, and the Cobalt is still running, as you can see. The connection is very pretty and is awesome. I also tried to execute another command, which is listing the process. It takes time because I did the 60-second. And here I'm using the latest version of Cortex. It's all enabled, it's all in place. And after placing that into memory, he was not able to do anything. He just do the notify, and then that's it. So threat actors will use that to maybe do a lot of damage. Maybe you don't know. Maybe they will load ransom. We don't know, right? If you're able to do Cobalt, then that's very dangerous. So yes, and this, as you can see, that the account has been already running, and Cortex didn't do anything. So the bypass is working perfectly. Okay. So right now, I think it's the final slide, which is weaponizing the attack. So here I'm going to show you simple weaponization, very simple script. And you as a red teamer, you have the vision to do that. You can do that through your Excel. You can do that through like phishing attacks. You can just build a macro and weaponize the whole attack. So this is all yours. So here what I'm going to do is just like simple script, do a simple download, and then do a simple execute. To automate the process, as I said, you can do that your own macro, or you can do a just simple trapper, which is right now we can see attacks. It doesn't start with the original, let's say loader. It's to start with the trapper who will do the download and fetch the content from outside, from the C2, right? And then put it on the computer and then run it. And then after that, he can delete the content if he doesn't want the people to know the code of his, or do analysis for his executable or whatever. So again, what I have done is very simple, very simple Windows operation, which is download something from my C2, right? As you can see, the encryptor and the loader, and the second bunch of executables will be the same, as you can see, red, and it will do. But here, there's something that's what you may face, that he will able to die, but it's okay. That's happening with Tabata, but if you run it again, multiple times, this will spray in the memory, and then nothing gonna stop you. Here we go. So that's really happening. The scenarios can be anything, as I say. It can be ransom, it can be your tool, it can be anything that you would like to run, as it is as exe. So there's some resources which is I want to recommend if you in order to want to understand the process following, and in the same way how you can defend against it. Like, it's good to have your own AV on your environment, but in the same way, you have to do your own analysis. You have to do your own rules. If you have your own rule, then the life will become much easier. Then the digital solutions will become feasible, right? So there's a bunch of two resources I would recommend. There's a lot, but these resources actually, it helps me also to code this kind of thing. One in Black Hat, the other one with MillerPyte. And here I go. I think this is the end of the session. Pardon me if I talk so fast, and I hope for hearing any questions from you guys. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lawrence. That was really interesting presentation. And as Lawrence said, this is your opportunity to ask him any questions that you have about his presentation. So please feel free to type those into the question pane and we can get them asked for you. So at the moment, we don't have any questions coming in. So either you have covered everything for everyone, Lawrence, which is excellent. Or they're busy typing. that's the question. So yeah, really, really interesting. And I was just listening to the presentation, and it's amazing. Everything that you actually do as a job when you look at this, it's fascinating to me, because I do I sit back and think, wow, it's it's creative as well as being technical, isn't it?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think let's hope that the ideas are clear. It's good that if there's anyone would like to raise the question, I'm happy to answer. But as I said from the beginning, I have done very detailed, and I think the all people will be have the clear vision. And I think after releasing the tool, and I will release the research on my site, it will become also answering most of the questions that I will get later.
Oh, that is great. Thank you. Well, yeah, we don't have any questions coming in. So please feel free, though, to contact us at marketing@crest-approved.org. And we can always get something over to Lawrence if there's something specific that you would like him to answer. That is not a problem. And also, obviously, you can look forward to seeing the recording of Lawrence's presentation, which will be coming out after today. So hopefully we'll get that to you as soon as possible. So we've got so one thing you have got, though, one of our attendees has just come in and said, great job, Lawrence. So well done. So fantastic. And thank you so much for presenting today at CRESTCon. It's been really appreciated, and we hope to see you back again, Lawrence, for one of our other days. So thank you. Okay, so everyone take care. Thank you very much, and we will see you on the next presentation, which will be following shortly in about 30 minutes. So take care, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.